Now the big hatchback segment is one of the most important segments in the Indian market, and the competition there is really thick with many able competitors, and it's only going to get more intense as Chevrolet get ready to replace the Yuva with the Sail Yuva. Now this is a product that's been developed in collaboration with SAIC of China. This product is really fresh in terms of design. It's got new interiors, it's got petrol and diesel motors on hand. We're going to now drive these two cars and see how they stack up. Standing in a showroom next to its siblings, the Sail looks like it hasn't got the best of the Chevrolet gene pool. It certainly isn't the most attractive child of the Chevy family. And it's not that the Sail is poor looking, it's just that it feels a bit bland and passé. But its Chevy genetics, like the two-part grille with the big Chevy bow tie and the swept-back headlamps, are proudly on display. From the sides, it looks simple too, and smart, but it ends rather abruptly. The tail section isn't particularly striking, and the vertically stacked tail lamps do feel a bit outdated. This hatchback wears a simple cloak, and it's underpinned by a revitalized GM platform that offers a long 2,465mm footprint. Let's see how it feels on the inside. Now I know some of you must have been worried when I said Chinese designed car about what the interiors would be like, right? But don't worry, the interiors of the Sail Yuva are pretty nice. I mean, the dashboard plastics are a hard-wearing variety. It has this slight workhorse feel to it. The dash design itself feels a bit dated. There's a nice silver flourish in the center, and the instrument cluster is definitely a high point with the digital rev counter. So there are nice bits to the car, but overall it feels a bit old school. But in terms of feature set, this car's got pretty much what you expect from a car of this class. While there is a powerful air conditioner, it doesn't come with climate control. The music system boasts of USB and aux-in options, and sound quality is decent too. It also has power windows all around, but the switches are a bit oddly positioned at the front. And while the glove box isn't all that deep, the door pockets surely are. On the safety front, the top-end Sail comes equipped with 2 airbags and ABS. And in terms of space, the Sail's long wheelbase gives it a good amount of room in the front. Although the seats do feel a bit firm. Now let's turn our attention to the back seat. So in terms of space, GM has managed to design this back seat really quite well. There's plenty of knee room, headroom is good, and width is pretty nice too. But in other regards, they have faltered. For instance, the seat cushioning is on the firm side, the backrest itself is not well sculpted, so you don't get the kind of support that you'd like. And well, you have the fuel tank sitting under the front seats, so your feet are kicked up a bit. So instead of actually being more comfortable, that causes your under thigh support to get cut down further, which is already a bit on the low side. But this Chevy Space is a trump card, and a very big one at that. Now let's see if this Chevy can strengthen its appeal when you hit the road. Internationally, the Sail is powered by a choice of 2 petrol motors, but in India, the Sail will be offered with a petrol and a diesel motor. The diesel will no doubt be the best seller, and it has the genetics to deliver. The Sail UVA uses a 1.3-litre motor called the small diesel engine, with GM co-developed with Fiat. Yes, the very same multi-jet motor. But GM has engineered this motor differently. The turbocharger is different. As a result, lag is less than in the Maruti Swift. It really is no surprise that the Sail's diesel motor is really very capable. It's got enough tractability, even very low down in the rev range, to keep you going, though it's really in the mid-range, once you get past the 2000 RPM mark, that it really starts pulling very strongly. While the 77 bhp of power and 20.9 kilograms of torque is easily accessible across the rev range, power does trail off around the 4200 RPM mark, so it's best to upshift early. In-gear acceleration is quick as well due to the strong mid-range. Not that you'll mind using the 5-speed gearbox either. The gearbox has a nice short throw, so you enjoy working it. In a straight line, the diesel Sail takes 15.2 seconds to get to the 100 km/h mark, and in 22.9 seconds, you are doing 120. And while it's clear that there's a diesel motor under the hood, the noise in the cabin is pretty subdued. Overall, we think that GM has dished out what might be the best take of the 1.3 multi-jet diesel in the country yet. Then it was time to drive the petrol-powered Sail. Now the Sail's petrol motor's power delivery is very straightforward. It just climbs gently in a straight line. So there's no bumps or peaks or troughs or whatever, none of those complications. So if you really want to get it going, you have to shift down and you have to rev it up. The Sail petrol surprised us with its flat-out performance. This 85 bhp hatch sprints from 0 to 100 in 14.6 seconds, which makes it quicker than the Swift. Its 11.5 kilograms of torque peaks at 4,400 RPM, which results in pretty strong in-gear acceleration figures too. But when it comes to road conditions, India is pretty challenging. Will the Sail's McPherson strut front and twist beam setup at the rear be able to deal with our conditions? Now the enthusiasts aren't going to queue up at the Sail's doorstep, but the everyday driver is going to like it, and for many good reasons. The suspension feels really very composed even at higher speeds. It feels very able even while cornering, and the steering is light, so at city speeds it really shouldn't be a hassle. But those looking for that keener edge while driving, they'll find the steering a bit too light at higher speeds, and the suspension, although composed, lacks that commitment in that sense. However, the Sail is a steady handler, and it's capable of tackling highway stints at triple-digit speeds quite well. And when the going gets rough, the Sail's ample ground clearance keeps it out of harm's way, and the suspension just flattens the path ahead. The ride quality is really very impressive, because over our broken roads, whether it's potholes or bumps, it just soaks them up with such confidence, you hardly get to feel them. This is the result of the tall 175 by 70 R14 tires and the long travel suspension. The result is in fact so good, we think that this might be the best riding car in its class. Seated in the back, you do get to hear some of the road noise, and the up and down movement of the Sail at higher speeds does mar its near-perfect score in terms of ride comfort. So at the end of the drive, how does Chevrolet's Sail UVA stack up? Now, while the Sail UVA might be the latest product from Chevrolet in India, I'm sure you'll agree with me that in terms of design, it's unlikely to be a trendsetter. The interiors too give the same sort of aura, but underneath the simple and somber exterior, this car does have a few very strong points. For instance, the suspension is very adept over the worst of Indian roads. The diesel engine, which is already really famous in India under the multi-jet moniker, does a really stellar job here again. The petrol motor isn't striking, it isn't particularly exciting to drive, but it's a nice little runabout for city duties. The interiors also offer lots and lots of space, which could only be made all the more better with a more sculpted, more comfortable rear bench. All in all, the Sail UVA does end up feeling like a package that's simple and unexciting, but yet very practical and sensible. Hopefully, GM follows the same card in its pricing as well, and putting it in line with Ford's Figo rather than Maruti Suzuki Swift. In which case, we really do think that the Sail will have a strong wind blowing in its sales trajectory.